Hey y'all, it's Missniecytv and I'm here to do a review for Divorce Sistas Season 1, Episode 14. The episode picks up with Hakee still pointing the blicky at Franklin, and Franklin's like, can I get a drink first? So Hakee allows him to get the drink, and then Franklin just basically runs down Naomi's whole plan back to Hakee about how she came here, she tried to play like she was going to see Grayson, but she used him as an alibi. She told Hakee that he was essaying their son and he was abusing her. He also told him how Naomi said that she was going to give him the money, but she's never going to really give him the money, and she's going to turn this all around on Hakee. And I'm like, Hakee, you better listen to Franklin because he knows Naomi better than you. In that moment, I think Hakee was really having a moment of like, why did I get myself into this? This man really knows Naomi, and everything that he said, she actually did. For some reason, I really don't think that Hakee ended up completing the plan on Franklin. But if he did, that's going to be crazy. Over at Bridget's house, we see Bridget in her kitchen, and she looks up, and Vaughn is there, and she's like, what are you still doing here? He's like, I'm scared they're going to arrest me. Bridget tells Vaughn that Calvin would drop the charges if he found his key. Vaughn is like, I don't even know where to begin to look. Vaughn is like, why does Calvin even need the key back so bad anyway? Bridget's like, well, he said to redo the machines, it would cost a lot of money. Vaughn is like, Bridget's like, where's your uniform at? Vaughn is like, it's in the laundry room. Bridget's like, well, go into the laundry room. Vaughn finds the key in his uniform in the hamper, and he comes back and he's like, Bridget, how'd you know it was in the laundry room? So Vaughn gives Bridget the key. She tells Vaughn to leave. Vaughn is like, I don't want to leave. I'm scared they're going to look for me. Bridget's like, well, you leaving anyway. He's like, okay, I'll leave, but I'm taking everything. I'm taking my game and the shoes you bought me. Bridget's like, okay, as long as you leave. So he winds up leaving, but he does try to put up a fight. He's like, can I take the TV too and my controllers? Bridget's like, just take what you gotta take and leave. The part that I'm mad about is it literally took 6 episodes for them to find this key, and the key has been in his uniform pocket the entire time in the hamper. Be so for real. Speaking of the key, Bridget calls Calvin and lets him know that she got the key and she'll bring it to the church. Calvin's like, I need it tonight because the machines are backed up, so I'll come and get it. Bridget's like, okay, I'm up. Calvin is making every excuse to come see Bridget because she could definitely bring that key to the church. He just wants to see her. Over at Pastor Jeff and Rashida, Geneva and Pastor Jeff make it there first. Pastor Jeff asks Geneva, can you take her coat? Geneva's like, I'm not going to be here long. Can you just see where they are? So William and Rashida come in. Pastor Jeff is like, who wants to go first? William is like, I guess I'll go first. I just want to know why. Pastor Jeff is like, that's right, clarify your why. William is like, so you want me to clarify my why? He's like, I've done everything that a good man's supposed to do and you cheated. Pastor Jeff is like, you don't know that. William is like, Anika's not my daughter. Pastor Jeff is like, well, Geneva did say that there's an IVF mix-up. It might be that. And we haven't got the results back. William said, can we touch and agree on the fact that Anika's not my daughter and Geneva cheated? Can we just touch and agree on that? Can we stop with this whole IVF mix-up? When I tell you that part had me hollering. Pastor Jeff asked Geneva, did she want to say something? And the first thing that Geneva does is like, Rashida. I understand in this moment, Geneva, you don't want to be the one to tell William that Anika's not his. But Rashida can't do that. She's not the one that has to live in her truth. You are. So live in your truth until Rashida's like, no one's forcing you to do this. Actually, you are, because you did tell her that if she didn't tell William, you was going to tell him. Even though she needed to tell William in the first place when they first found out the doctor. Geneva's like, Anika's your daughter. William is like, I know that, but she's not my biological daughter. Can you just tell the truth for once? Dang. Pastor Jeff is like, we don't use that type of language in my house. William asked the same question that I asked. What are we even here for then? Because y'all wanted to go to the church, and William said that type of language doesn't belong in the church. So he was like, okay, let's go to my house. So in my mind and in William's mind, he thought it was okay to cuss him. William was like, I've been trying to figure out who it is. Is that guy at your office, isn't it? Geneva's like, no. William, it's your best friend or the person that you call your best. Then William turns to Rashida. He's like, you want to know what your girl did? She went down to the school, talked to one of the mothers, and accused me of cheating. But she was cheating this whole time. You knew, didn't you? William is like, that's why you over there squirming. What type of pastor are you that you would know the truth and you wouldn't even tell me? First of all, William, I understand where you're coming from and you wanted to know the truth, and the person that knows the truth is hiding it from you and y'all are supposed to be friends. But this type of information was supposed to come from your wife and nobody else. Pastor Jeff is like, let's all work through this. William is like, I'm not working through nothing until I get some answers. Pastor Jeff is like, well, let's try another approach. Tell Geneva why you love her. William is like, Geneva knows that I loved her since the first day I met her. when she ran me over with her bike. He's like, I stopped her from rolling into a trash can. She was so concerned about me. She even came with me to the hospital and we talked the entire way, and that's when I fell in love with her. William was like, it was her smile. Her smile woke up something in me because I felt like a man like me couldn't be with a woman like you. William is right about his assessment about Geneva that a man like him couldn't be with a woman like her because they're not compatible at all. William doesn't have no sense of edge to him, and Javon has all those things that Geneva wants. But Pastor Jeff is like, that's nice. Tell me about your first date. William is like, we were both nervous. He's like, that was the first time we made love, and that's when Geneva comes out and she tells William that he's not Anika's father. He's like, so you really slept with somebody else? And Geneva doesn't answer. He's like, do I know him? Geneva's like, I can't tell you that. William is like, do I know him? But the way he says it in a whisper tone, William is one of those quiet, crazy people. He's not crazy until you bring it out of him, and Geneva's trying to bring it out of him. He's like, let me ask you one more thing. Do you love him? Geneva can't get no words out, but the emotions on her face tell everything that she's really in love with that man. So William is like, you know what, I'm done. And Pastor Jeff is like, don't leave, don't leave. We go outside. William is like, I got all the answers I need. I'm going home. I'm walking. Pastor Jeff is like, I'll take you home. William is like, no, I'm walking. I really don't think William should have walked home. They should have at least called him an Uber or something. Like on the inside, Rashida and Geneva are talking, and Rashida's like, so you really do love him, huh? Geneva's like, I can't turn that off. Rashida's like, well, you gonna have to tell him the truth. Geneva says she can't do that. Rashida's like, well, you gonna have to tell him the truth, and you gonna have to tell Tiffany too, because this man is breaking up not only your marriage, but your friendships, and I can't do it no more. Rashida's definitely getting tired of Geneva. Geneva's like, so can you go outside to see if he left so I could leave? So Rashida goes outside and she has a conversation with Pastor Jeff, and she's like, oh, this is crazy. I can't take it. I gotta take a drive. It's crazy how one man that Geneva slept with comes back into town and ruins an entire friendship and an entire marriage. Geneva ruined it by not telling the truth, and she dragged everybody else into it. Over in Grayson's dorm room, we see Grayson and Francis looking at Franklin's security cameras because Grayson hasn't heard from Franklin since they hung up the phone earlier, and Grayson is always talking to Franklin, so he's suspicious. Plus the fact that his mom just randomly shows up. They see emotion on the camera, so they immediately say that they're going to call the police, and Grayson's like, my mom did this. They immediately go confront Naomi, and we all know that it's not going to turn out well. Over at Bridget's sitting on a couch watching TV, and that's when Calvin comes over and he comes to get his key. And so Bridget gives him the key, and she's basically not trying to have a conversation with him, and he wants to have a conversation with her. And he's like, can I tell you something? Bridget's like, if you're going to ask me out, just remember that you're still married. Calvin's like, I know I'm married, but we're headed for divorce. Bridget lets Calvin know that he's not her type, and that's when Calvin's wife just appears out of nowhere and starts arguing with Bridget, like, so this was the one that you're cheating on me with. She breaks a vase in Bridget's home, and then they go back and forth, and Bridget's like, you better tell her the truth. One thing I can say, Bridget didn't back down though. But once they leave, she's like, why is there always somebody breaking something in my house? You see Hakee call Naomi, and he's basically like, I completed the plan, so where's my money? Naomi is like, I don't see no evidence of you completing the plan. Hakee was like, you want a picture or something? She's like, once I see it on the internet, I'll give you your money. Hakee is like, just know I completed the plan. Hakee tells Naomi that he wants his money. Naomi's like, well, you can't get it right now. I'm out of town. Hakee was like, why are you playing games? Naomi's like, I'm not playing games, but you will have your money. She's like, since we calling names now, Hakee, Nicholas, Wallace, you can get off my phone. When Naomi gets off the phone, she walks over to this random body that she has tied up laying on the floor. And I'm like, Naomi, you crazy girl. Hakeem's basically like, you just pissed off the wrong one, right? I wonder if Hakeem's gonna start singing like a canary, telling everything about how Naomi told him how to do it, where to do it, when to do it. Over at the bar, we see William talking to Tiffany's ex-husband, John. And John's like, William, are you alright? Because that dinner was kind of tense last time. William is like, I'm alright. Then they start talking about Tiffany and the divorce. And William is like, that's where I'm headed. John is like, you want to talk about it? William is like, nah. Then John brings up the fact that he saw Tiffany with somebody new. And William is like, that's my friend. John is like, are they serious? William is like, well, they just started dating, so you have to ask her. John is like, we're divorced, so I don't care. John, you still care, because why are you even asking about that lady? If you didn't care, you wouldn't even brought her up. William is like, I wish I didn't care about my situation. William, your situation is different because there's a child involved that you bonded with and that you love and that you care for and you raised. So your situation is different. Of course you're going to care. You're definitely going to be hurt when you find out who Anika's true father is, the person that you call your best friend and the person that Tiffany's dating. As they're talking, William sees this lady at the other end of the bar, and John is like, don't do that. William is like, why? He's like, she's a hooker. William is like, I don't care. So basically William's plan is he just wants to get under something to relieve his hurt. William tells John to send her a drink. John is like, I'm not doing that. So William takes it upon himself to go have a conversation with her, and he basically tells her that he wants to get down to business with her. And the lady's like, you're being rude. You didn't even introduce yourself. William is like, I'm not even on that type of time. I just want to tell you that I want to get down to business, and are you down for it? Of course, the lady agrees because that's part of her occupation, so they leave. And I'm like, William, you don't know what you just got yourself into, but I guess you'll do anything when you're hurt, huh? Over at Tiffany's house, we see Tiffany and Javon about to get down to business, and as they're about to get down, Tiffany's like, we gotta stop this. Javon is like, am I doing something wrong? Tiffany's like, no, you're doing everything right, and that's the problem. She's like, this is the first time I've ever had somebody touch and make love to me the way that you do, and I just want to slow things down because it's moving a little too fast. Javon is like, I'll do whatever you need me to do, and in that moment, I really do think Javon is starting to fall for Tiffany, even though she's used as a pawn in this situation. I really do think that Javon is starting to fall for Tiffany. Tiffany ends up telling him to leave. He ends up leaving, but before he does, he just gives her a passionate kiss, and then he's like, we're still going out for breakfast. Tiffany's like, okay. Tiffany, you're moving kind of backwards, don't you think? You already slept with the man. The point of taking it slow is to get to know each other so it doesn't move to that point very fast, but you already started with that point, so. As they're having a conversation, Tiffany gets a call from Rashida, but of course she doesn't answer, so on the outside, Rashida has driven past Tiffany's house, and she calls her and she basically lets her know that they have to talk. Then we see Grayson and Francis go confront Naomi, and Naomi is basically like, your dad might be at the hospital, that's why he's not answering. It's wrong. Grayson's like, he talks to me all the time, and it's not normal. Then she's trying to plead her case like she didn't do nothing, she don't know nothing. Grayson's like, I'm calling the police. Naomi's like, just wait for your father to call you, and that's when the body under the blanket makes noise, and he's tied up and he's naked. And that's when Grayson walks over, and he just walks out. And he's like, you're weird. Over at Tiffany's, outside of Tiffany's, Rashida's there, and she sees Geneva riding by. So she calls Geneva and tells Geneva to pull over. So the conversation is basically like, you have to tell Tiffany the truth, and you have to tell her the entire truth. Rashida's like, you can't keep allowing this man to ruin your friendships. And Geneva's basically trying to plead her case for Javon, like, you don't know him like I know him. I've never seen somebody be so delusional the way that Geneva is over Javon in my life. She has the nerve to say that Javon is her soulmate. Rashida's like, he can't be if he's sleeping with your best friend. Geneva's like, he's just acting out because he's hurt. I'm like, Geneva, is he too, or is he like a 40-year-old man? No, what he's trying to do, he's trying to use Tiffany to make you jealous, but in the process, I think he's going to wind up falling for Tiffany, and it's really going to make you mad. But like Rashida told Geneva, though, Javon don't care about nobody but himself. She asked a good question. She's like, what will happen if Javon actually falls for Tiffany? Geneva's like, he won't because that's not his type. Geneva's like, he likes somebody who's dangerous and somebody that can take charge. Rashida's like, well, Tiffany's strong. Geneva's like, she's not his type, though. Then they have this whole back and forth, and Rashida's like, it's sad. Rashida tells Geneva not to stay out around Tiffany's house too long because it's giving creep. Some time passes, and Javon leaves Tiffany's house, and he sees Geneva, so Geneva follows behind him, and they wind up having a conversation in Javon's car. Geneva's like, why are you doing this? Why are you with her? Javon is like, you know what, I actually like her. Geneva's like, no, you don't. You know you want me. Javon is like, I did, past tense, but I don't want you no more, basically. And he's like, you might as well just let this whole thing go, because I'm not even going to tell William that Nika's my child. Javon is like, you said you moved into town to be with me. Javon is like, you also said that you weren't interested. Geneva's like, well, she's my friend. Javon is like, well, you haven't been acting like. Geneva's like, why are you doing this? Javon is like, what am I doing? Geneva's like, you were just in there getting down to business with her. Javon is like, why are you even jealous when you have a whole husband at home? Geneva's like, stop it. Javon is like, you stop. Geneva's like, so you're just hell-bent on torturing me, huh? Javon is like, you leave him and I'll leave her and we can raise Nika together. But the way he says it sounds like, feed him, bathe him, clothe him, they say. From Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Javon is like, why is it so hard for you? And Geneva's like, you know you want me, so she tries to push up on him. And Javon is like, it's not going to work after what I just did. Geneva's like, so you just going to rub it in, huh? Javon is like, well, I did that too. And Geneva slaps Javon. she's like, I hate you, and Javon's like, I love you too. And then Geneva struggles to get out the car. I'm like, girl, this just showed me that Javon's actually starting to care for them both. I know he's in love with Geneva, but I really do think he's falling for Tiffany too. And it's hard for him because he's seeing the woman that he's in love with be with somebody else, and he has a woman that he's falling for, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. Over at Rashida's, Rashida calls Tiffany and basically tells her that they have to talk in person, and Tiffany's like, does it have to do with Geneva? Rashida's like, yeah, speaking of Geneva, John just texted me and he said that he saw William leave the bar with some hooker. Rashida's like, what? Rashida's like, what bar? Tiffany's like, the restaurant bar at Clemens. Rashida's like, he works there? Tiffany's like, he just started. So then they go back and forth, and Tiffany tells him the story about when John saw her with Javon and how Javon made him jealous and all this other stuff. And Rashida's like, over. Tiffany's like, I'm just taking my time. And Rashida's like, okay. Tiffany's like, it's just been so long since I've been held or touched like that. Rashida's like, you've said that before. Then they start talking about Geneva and how Tiffany feels like Rashida and Geneva are hiding something from her, and Rashida's like, I think you should talk to Geneva. Tiffany's not trying to hear anymore, so she gets off the phone with Rashida, and once Rashida gets off the phone with Tiffany, she has a conversation with Pastor Jeff, and she's like, if you ever feel the need to look or want to be with another woman, just tell me. And Pastor Jeff is like, where's this coming from? Rashida's like, I just want you to be honest and tell me. Pastor Jeff is like, where would this come from? And you know I don't want to look at no other woman or be with another woman. Rashida's like, I just think it's because of everything that's going on with our friends, and I don't want to end up like that. Well, Jeff is like, okay, but I do have something to tell you. There is another woman. And then I think Jeff is just going to tell her that he only wants to be with her, thinks about her, sees her, and all this other stuff. Over at William and Geneva's, William has brought the hooker into the home, and she's like, well, whatever you want, you have to pay me first. So William pays her $1,500 for it. William paid a very high price for somebody that looks low budget, no offense. So Geneva walks in. She's like, what the heck? So she jumps over the couch and slaps the heck out of that girl. Geneva, you don't like when the shoe is on the other foot, do you? But William was wrong for bringing that prostitute into the home where their daughter sleeps. Geneva looks like she got some hands on her, though. I wonder how this is all going to play out. Let me know what you guys think about the episode. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on your bell notifications. Bye!